Alright guys, so we're going to be doing a brief introduction to, well, I don't know if it'll be brief or not. We're going to do an introduction to Forex trading. With summer coming, and I've said this before, binary options becomes a little bit difficult to trade. You don't necessarily have to go live. It's a good thing to practice to keep you busy, I guess you could say. If you can keep yourself from trying to take binary options trades when the markets are going crappy for during the summer, then it's a good way to pass the time and keep you out of trouble, is basically the way I look at it. Forex trading, if you're into binary options, it is definitely something you should practice. Binary options have their limitations. One, with certain market conditions, it just becomes impossible to trade. We saw that earlier this week when we had just the whole entire London session was news. So, and everyone has their own opinions on it, but for me, I will not trade binary options with news because you have no control over the trade. You can't get in and out of it when you want. Some brokers, yes, they will allow you, but you're still not going to get a decent, and we're going to cover what this is, a decent risk reward. If you can't get a decent risk reward, you shouldn't be trading. So the first thing we're going to talk about with Forex is I'm trying to think where to start with this because it's kind of a broad topic. Let's talk about placing trades. So most of you here are binary options traders. We know with the binary options it has a fixed payout. So in order to not blow your account with Forex, we need to first talk about something that's called risk reward. When you're in Forex, you get paid by the pips. So I'm just going to place a quick trade here. Now this one has, we're going to talk about two things. It has a spread that's 49 pips, which is outrageous. You'd never trade a pair like that. But if you notice, the first thing that happens when you place a Forex trade, you start in the negative. Even though my price is, the green line is my sell, and I'm selling, price is below it, I'm negative. So every Forex trade you take starts in the negative. What we get into now with binary options, you have a fixed risk-reward ratio. Say, for instance, Markets World, 30% payout. Sometimes it'll go a little bit higher, and if you lose it all. In Forex, you can control your risk-reward, and it really depends on how you trade and what you're looking at. So what is risk-reward? Let me find my little thing again. You get paid by pips, like I mentioned. Your profit moves up and down per pips. Let me do it to points so we can see it. Points, just another fancy. See, I'm negative 14 points, or pipettes. That's 1.4 pips in the hole. So you get paid by the amount price moves, not by the result. Like with binary options, if you would have taken this, this would have been a win if you taken a put on it. With Forex, you get paid by the price moves from here to here. So you get paid distance-wise by movement. So when we talk about risk reward, the first thing we want to do is we're always going to use what's called a take profit and a stop loss. A take profit simply means how many pips your goal is. So if you have a 10 pip goal and you have a 5 pip stop loss, your risk reward ratio is 2 to 1. What does that mean? It means you need a 50%, and we'll go to binary options terms, you need a 50% ITM ratio to break even and not lose money, which it's actually a little bit lower than that because remember, we're going to have commission. So this is a 2 to 1 risk reward. So let's say we wanted to do, and for me this is about what I use. I look for 30 pips with a 10 to 15 pip stop loss, but typically I open up every one of my trades with a 30 pip take profit and a 10 pip stop loss. All this means, quite simply, I can't spell, all this means is this is how much I'm willing to lose. And this is, if the trade works out perfectly, what I want to win. But what does this mean then? My ITM percentage now drops down to 33% to break even. So you can kind of see why Forex trading for people is a little bit more appealing, because with binary options you need about a 60% to break even. With Forex, depending on your risk reward, it can drop down 30%, whatever you're doing. Just because you say you're going to take 30 pips doesn't mean you are. A lot of times you end up with 15 pips. But that'll come over time. We're sticking to basics now. You need to understand the concept of the risk reward ratios so that you can set up. Basically, you need a plan when you do forex. These numbers, if you're trading a lower time frame, like 5 minute, will get smaller and bigger, in my opinion. Again, this is all my opinion and on how I trade. But on the 1 hour time frame, I shoot for 30 pips, take profit, and 10 pips stop loss. I'm going to show you on my setup how I determine to get into trades and everything, and how this takes over. So basically, on my day-to-day trading, I need to hit 33% to break even. Anything above that is money for me. Does anyone have questions on risk reward? Does everyone get it? It's going to be the most important thing. You need to design your strategy. How you trade needs to be based on your risk reward, and your risk reward needs to be based on how you trade. Because if you can't hit this goal, then this doesn't have anything to do with it. Then you're just going to be totally out of whack. If you're doing 10 pips win, 10 pips. If you're doing a 10 pip take profit and a 10 pip stop loss, then you're going to be 50%. And remember, it's actually going to be lower than that because you start off every trade in the negative. Yep, I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover all that in a second. First, I want to make sure everyone understands risk reward, because without risk reward, the way I trade is not really going to make sense. You should not get into forex trading until you understand risk versus reward. Otherwise, you're just going to blow an account. Almost every single MT4 broker out there is going to give you a demo account. I highly recommend demo trading and getting the hang of it. It is definitely a different world than binary options. Okay, so once we get into MT4, next we're going to the spread, and then we'll get into how to place a trade, then we'll get into my charts. The spread is very important because the spread determines, and there's two lines on it. This white line right here, this is where price is. This red line is based off the spread. That's when I hit buy, so I'm going to hit sell. That's actually where it starts off my negative count. So 1.61, I'm 161 points in profit. Here it says 161 because this is an exotic pair I'm showing just because I wanted you to be able to see. This is ask and bid and ask. You need to be aware of the spread. If the spread is too large, you do trade the pair. My charts, and I'll show a little bit about them. Here's the spread on this one, 1.7 pips. That's what I look for. Since I'm on the hourly charts, any 1 pip, we'll get into that too. First, let's one step at a time. He asked about the stop loss, so we'll get into stop loss in a second too. Okay, so spread, we always are looking, the lower the spread, the quicker we go into profit if the trade moves in your direction. The higher the spread, the more in the hole you start. So we always want to have a decent size spread. Indicator that I use, and it will be in there, is New Market Info Dark. The reason I like it is it shows spread, plus when I'm in a trade, it shows me the pips down here that I'm in. Down here on open trades, what I did, it'll show your profit in currency down here. So some people are when they have no idea. Everything down here, and the way you open this, up here it says terminal. If you click that, it has your trade. My demo account because we're making some weird shit and I'm going to be showing indicators. So this is self-explanatory, but that's how you open it. That's how you monitor your trades, and I'm going to show you how to open and close trades also, if you want to do it. So there's risk reward and spread. The next thing we're going to get into is when you're placing trades. There's two ways to place a trade. There's a new order here, and then I'll get into what's on my chart. We're just going to go step at a time. I don't doing it this way because it takes too damn long. You can do this to set pending orders, and I'm not going to get into those today. The way I recommend doing it is you'll see a little arrow up here. This is sell and buy, and this is your amount in pips, or in lot sizes, I'm sorry. So we'll just do 0.05. So everything will be here to quickly get in. The first time you do it, you might have to go into options, and when you go to where the hell is it? Charts, No objects. Trade. I'm sorry, in trade. You want to put one-click trading enabled. That's what this is one-click trading. It is so much easier than entering the damn order. Now, I'm going to show how to do a quick order entry, then I'm going to show how I control that order. So, just, let's see if we have anything that might possibly look okay. Probably not. I'm not going to get too much into it. I'll just find a chart that price is clear so you can see it. Okay, so this one, I know it's going up, but I'm going to take a sell. So it's pretty simple. You hit your size, and when you hit sell, what you'll see, green line appears. That is your sell point. So anything below its profit, anything below it, anything above its profit. So our next step is we got the trade open. We want to automatically have a stop loss in there. Let's forgot, and there was news right now. You open up this trade, 2 seconds later, and spikes up, and because you do a stop loss set, remember, a stop loss is your amount that you're willing to lose per trade. I'm going to go to a big indicator, or EA. So, let me get it on there. This is the one, very simple. Take profit 30, stop loss 10. That is called an expert advisor. What an expert does, and it's different from an indicator. An indicator just goes on your chart, it doesn't do anything. An expert advisor set your stop loss, your take profit, other things. But in this case, we're just going to focus in on a simple one that can adjust take profit and stop loss. So as soon as it orders, close these both so we can see. And let's do this. Nope. Delete. I'm going to take some stuff off the chart to make it easier for you to see what the EA does. Trading without an EA is suicide. Trading without a stop loss is suicide. You never, ever, ever want to trade without it. This is a very simple EA that as soon as you place a trade, will put a stop loss and a take profit in there for you. So like I said, on a 1 hour chart, I'm looking for a 30 pip profit, and I start off with a 10 pip stop loss. Those get adjusted once my trade's open, but like I said, one step at a time. So we're going to click buy. Green line is the book. The red line is my take profit. Stop loss is 95.849, so that's 95 point. I did something wrong. It's way down there then. What did I do? Indicator list. Oops, sorry. Sorry, I'm screwing up. Just so we can kick it in. I'm not sure why that one didn't work, but anyway, so it sets your take profit and stop loss. We'll pretend the stop loss should have been down here, but it automatically does it. So now we've covered risk reward, the spread, how to quickly place a trade, and you want an EA running all the time. As for how to put an EA, if you put the EA on here and it has a frowny face, that means it's not functioning. If you click auto trading to turn it on and it still has a frowny face, what you need to do is go into your expert advisors, and in the allow live trading has to be checked or your EA will not function. So any questions on risk reward, spread, how to quickly place a trade and have it automatically have a take profit stop loss? If not, we're going to my little setup and how I do a little bit of trading. It slowly comes together. This was just basically, like I said, it's just going to be a basic quick run through, and next week we're going to go into a little bit more advanced subjects. Okay, so we don't have any more questions, or any questions so far. Okay, so this is, I guess, an okay chart to look at. I use CCI and Itchy setup. If you don't know Itchy, I have a thread explained, and you could look up Chaos Trader. The guy is a freaking teaching Itchy. He's excellent at it. He goes very in depth, and it's simple and easy to understand. I don't know. This was something I was trying out. I don't need it on there. Okay, so if we're looking to take a trade, now here's what I have on my charts. So Itchy is here. This is CCI. I have I'm using an indicator that draws support and resist lines. And I have it set for, God, I'm a mess. I'm sorry, I threw this demo account together this morning. I'm showing H1 and above for support and resists. As you can see, my setup is pretty simple. Now, you see the floating lines here? This is an indicator I had created. I'm very visual when I trade. It's called inline, and what it does, it says 300, but since we're on a 5-digit chart, that's 30 pips. Since I'm a visual trader, what I want to be able to see is, right here's price right now, 30 pips up, that's my target. To see where my target is. Reason being is, let's take a look and see if I can find one. As we can see, like a buy here, there's nothing blocking my target. There's no support, there's no resist. If I look over here, it helps me easily target and whether it's going to run into a problem. So I'm going to try and find one that has a problem. If I was going to take... Give me a second to try and find one. Okay, H support, and here's my 30 pip target if I took a sell. So what I would do in this case, and ignore the setup. This is not a valid setup. I'm just showing my philosophy on behind how I trade. Here's my 30 pip target. H1 is blocking my target, but if this was a valid setup, what I would do is I would hit sell. Now, my order's here. So what's the first thing I'm going to need to do? My take profit needs to be adjusted because I think price is going to move down to here. Right here, I'm going to go to AUDCH. Down here, it brings it up and it lets the order. So I'm going to go to my take profit, and what I'm 0.73695. And then you're going to click to modify the order. The order's now, if we look at take profit, is now on the H1 support. Why did I do that? Because my 30 pip goal was blocking it. Now, if I think it's a super strong trend down, I'm trying to see how I can explain this. I'm basing this off a one trade deal. This is not how I trade, but getting started, you need to understand this and practice it. I do a different type of trading, which at the end I'll show you, and then next week we'll cover it. But does everyone know I have this floating yellow lines? It visually lets me see where my target is, and if there's a wall or something blocking my target, I can then change price to that as a take profit. I'm a very conservative Forex trader. I blew 60 grand in 2008 because I thought, well, my friend was a broker, and he told me it was simple. Just go with the trend, buy, sell. And I did it 3 times for 20K each, and I was a dumbass. That's how I fell in love with trading, but it's also how I learned my freaking lesson. I did not get Forex trading until 15 months ago live. I've been practicing since 2008. I started up with binary options, and then I got back into Forex. Again, binary options about 3:15. Time live if you're not ready. Get the feel for trade Forex. So does everyone get how I use these little floating lines and how they can help you out? And if we look here, if the H1 was thing we see, we have a nice resist here. So H1 was blown through. We still have a nice down here. Any questions on that and how I take a trade, then I adjust it to what I see on the chart? Again, this can work with any system you have and how you trade it. Hopefully there's no questions. Okay, so I'm going to go over what I have on the chart. I'm going to try and find a clinger one. I think this one's clean enough. Okay, so this one, to take a trade, if I wanted to take a buy, that's my goal. Is there anything in the way of me taking a 30 pip trade? You see how it's kind of simple? It broke right here. And we have an upward trend on Itchy. For my system, I have a blue candle now, which is helping me out a little bit. Do we see any reason why we would need to adjust the order once I hit? You see how the floating yellow lines help there? It lets you visualize your target and where it would be. Personally, on this one, I would wait till the end of the hour to make sure that we're not going to get a reversal off of the H. But that's not here or there. I'm just trying to explain the concepts, I guess. What are the green candles for? I'll show you in a second my setup. I just wanted to stop and so you can see how the yellow line works, because that's the first part of how I trade. Basically, what you need to be looking for in a trade. We'll break it down by indicator. Use Itchy, as you can see. Itchy, I will post a link. I'm not going to explain it. I want to keep this on the... I will post a link with the video on how to trade with Itchy, and I'll put Chaos Traders. It's the weekend. Highly recommend going through it. Learn a lot, and it is a quite simple way to trade. I do recommend being on the H1, so an hourly chart. I know that sucks, but deal with it. It's the summer coming up. It's one of the most reliable ways to stay out of trouble. Okay, so Itchy, standard settings. This one's new market info. That's up here. This new market info gives you the price, the spread, data, which we don't care about. It tells us candle closing time. Long, swap, short, we don't need to know about. MA240, we don't need to know about. And it shows me open trades pips. I'm negative 4 points right now. So since I buy on this, it's dropped down, and I'm 5 pips in the hole. That explains that indicator. This one, don't need it. I was just trying it out for y'all, but I didn't like it. 728, 119. Yes, I have heard about them. I prefer to... just to cover that, I prefer to stick with, because when you're trading, you want mass mentality. What does that mean? You want your chart to match as many other people in the world out there. If you're using a fancy setting, how many other people are using standard Itchy settings or the fancy Itchy settings? You want to be in the group that is the mass mentality, so that you can see the same thing as many other people out there. So the fancy things might be, do you really think worldwide everyone's using the fancy settings? Or do you want to be in the group that they're using the old-fashioned, and that's what already them are saying and placing trades with? Because you want to get the flow of the mass. That's how you're going to make money. By basically riding the coattails of the big money makers. Banks, hedge funds, things like that. Make sense? Okay. Yeah, I actually tried those out on an EA, so... Okay, so new market info we covered. TLB, OC, VO2. All this is it draws my support. I have M1, M5, M15, and M30, goddamn, off. I'm just using H1 and H4 support and resist lines. Again, you can put what you want on here. 9, 26, 50. Yes, that is correct. And let's go in and look. 9, 26, 52. Those are my settings. Okay, so like I was saying, for this one, I'm using 1 hour and 4 hour resists. Now, if you like pivots, Murray math lines, whatever, I keep it simple. No, my charts used to be fancy as shit. Like, not fancy, but clutter-ridden. My binary options charts, I'm not gonna lie, they have a ton of shit on them. But for such short-term trades, for me, I feel it's... once I get up to the hourly and the 1 hour charts, the 4 hour charts, I feel I can simplify things, because the things you see on it, like support and resist and things like that, actually... And this, remember, I've been trading 3 years with bins on and off since 2008. So what I see on my chart, like I can see Fibos on my chart that y'all can't see. Here's a Fibo move right here. A, B, C, and we're in an upward D moves. 161's up here somewhere. So what I see on my chart isn't what you see on your chart. I can see Fibos, I can see support and resist, I can see divergence, but it's not on my chart. Over time, you'll start to remove indicators. This setup is just so I can show how I'm trading. You can take what you want from it, use however you want to trade. When you're trading what's on the chart, you need to understand it. If you don't understand it, there's no point of having it on the chart. So you do not have to mimic my setup. This, again, remember guys, this was just a basic intro to Forex for people, so some people didn't even know how to place a trade with Forex. They were going into this button, and if you were brand new and you see this, it says type market execution pending order. So let's say I go to market execution. People don't know what the hell this is. Volume, they have no clue how to use any of this. I tried to just give a quick walkthrough on how to get into it so you can practice. I prefer the one click. I hate using the freaking new order. I prefer to be able to get my trade in, have an EA take over, and then adjust my trade. Once I'm done with the indicators, I'll talk a little bit of how I adjust the trade. What means this colors candles? It's like, no, it's not. Give me a second, though. We'll cover. So we were on indicator list. Here, again, I'm using 1 hour, 4 hour. What I was saying is you can use Murray math lines, you can use pivots. Make the system your own. I'm just basically showing you how to get into a trade and out. So I wanted to show risk-reward spread, placing a trade and having the E kick in, and then for the hell of it, I'm showing what I trade with. What the colors are called PBF underscore PB direction. I use them to kind of help me make up my mind based on Itchy rules. I've been using them for about 7 months. So basically what I'm looking for is when, for instance, price came out of the cloud here, and I had the red PB. They just helped me out a little bit. So, again, I'll give you all the indicators. You can play with them. You don't have to use my setup. But for me, what I look at, like on this trade, I would have possibly got in here, but CCI for me would have been a little bit of a warning, but it did have room to drop down. Coming out of the cloud, we had a green cloud, Casper. I'm not going to, actually, I'm getting into itchy rules. I don't want to do that. If you want to get into how I trade, then I will. I use the PBF, the settings on it, you can just change the colors. The thickness is what makes the candles turn color. If you watch what happens here, just so you understand this indicator. If I do it, see how it's a tiny little line? And if I go back to 3, that's what's changing the color of my candles. Okay, so that's basically it. Again, guys, I will get into my system more next week. This was just a quick intro. Inlines is the indicator I had made for me. It's the 2 yellow lines, the settings I'm using, and this would be on you. This is where your risk management comes in. Offset pips. So if I change this to 500, which is actually 50, because we're using a 5-digit, so this is 50 pips. Line color you can change. You can change the type of line it is to whatever you want, and line thickness. You can only change the line thickness if it's solid, and then you can change it to 2. So if I do that, now it's showing me a 50 pip target. Most likely a lot of people that are actually trading this way, the only thing that you'll find interesting is the inlines, or if you're, I mean, some of you might like the system. CCI with alert, the alert actually doesn't work on it, I've just changed it. Alert-wise, I don't really use alerts too much when I'm trading the 1 hour because I have time to go through the charts and look at them. If you wanted, you could set up any type of alerts you want. I set traps for me. If you're not familiar when I say I set traps, I'll link the indicator in the video. All the people that trade TA with me know what I mean. I set traps on my Forex charts, and when the trap is popped, that's when I jump to it. That's how I get alerted to it. I don't use any other indicators with alerts or anything. PBF direction? Yeah, sure. Okay, the PBF direction will change depending on how far it's in and out. The top two, these are the wicks, and these are the bodies of the candles, I believe. You'll need to change these 3 for the current zoom level. I'm going to zoom in once so you can see what happens with the PBF. See how the PBF now is just a blue line and a red line? You have to adjust it again per your zoom level. It's not the fanciest indicator, but for me, this is how I look at the chart all the time, so it works for me. If I zoom in once, that PBF really does look like dog shit then. I'm trying to think what else, if I'm missing anything. The last one's CCI. It's just CCI 14. I like CCI. Again, you can use whatever you want. That's typically once, if you notice, if it'll go white or green, that's when it's changing colors from blue, then you'll get a pause and a red. What I like about that is it tells me that the color is about to change. So it, for me, like, you see how you're red? And I know I got a green candle here, so what does that mean? I should watch this chart because I might get entry on the next one because it's about to go blue. This is a valid setup for me here. So it was red, I stayed out, the candle goes green. What's that? Prep to get ready. Start looking at the chart to see if I want to get entry. So that's why I like the PB indicator, because it gives me one whole candle warning that the color's about to change. Make sense? It's not always right, but if you have a good setup, it will help you a little bit. And I like it because on the 1 hour chart, once this thing isn't red anymore, that gives me 1 hour to figure out if I'm going to take a good trade, a bad trade, or fuck it up. I honestly, because I'm such a conservative trader, and my history with trading, getting back into Forex trading was one of the hardest things for me to do. I had mental issues all over the goddamn place. Nope. If I take... It is what you need to do for it to work is you need to go into properties, and you need to make sure chart's not on foreground. If chart is on the foreground, see how it doesn't do anything. So if you throw that indicator on there and it doesn't do a damn thing, you need to go to properties and take chart on foreground off. Then PBF will take over. I'm trying to think if I'm missing. Okay, let's just open it up for questions. Does anyone have questions? I know this was just a basic intro, but focus on leverage. For me, I trade 1% of my account. I'm a US trader, so on my live account, even though I use Trader's Way, I use 50 to 1. 1,000 to 1 sounds wonderful, but do you really want to use high leverage? For me, I say this over and over again, since I had mental issues with Forex, yes, okay, let me finish first with leverage. Since I had mental issues, I'm a 1% trader. I will rarely bump up to 2 or 3%. My Forex account over 15 months has been growing slowly, and I'm happy with it. Maybe once I get this mental block out of my head, then I'll go up to a little bit higher on trades, but I stick to 1% on a 50 to 1 account. If you have a 1,000 to 1 account and you can blow your account in one trade, that is just fucking stupid. It's just like with binary options, money management rules all. If you can get this down, shit, with a 33%, if you can do a 3 to 1 risk reward ratio, that means you have to be right 33% of the time to break even. And if you're a trader, you'll be able to hit that. That's why they say binary option traders make good Forex traders. If you're successful and you're hitting 60%, you should be able to trade Forex. The differences is one, when I started it, I was so used to binary options on the 5-minute that I had patience for it. I was going freaking nuts waiting for an hourly chart, especially to be open for 5-6 hours. 2, always use a stop loss, take profit. Hey, I'm going to give you, it's a very simple one. Next week we'll look into things like trailing stop losses and things like that. The EA that I'm using, and again, we'll go into it next week, I use a different one because I'm using a trailing stop loss. It's called Trade Protector. But just so you can see, I'm using a little bit slightly different. But getting into it, stay simple. Then we'll talk about getting fancy. This one candle of yellow or white, it show our possible... yes. When we have a break from blue, the candle that... like this, a green one or a white one, that's when you want to be prepared. If you're going to be using the type of system I do, that's when you want to start looking at the chart and saying, does this look like it'll have an entry? So it gives you, on this, it gives you almost a damn hour to decide if you want to get into a trade. So you can see why alerts for me aren't really necessary, because as I go through my charts, we have red here. I have nothing to look at. This one did not give me the warning candle, which will happen occasionally. But still, I have red cloud, blue candle. That's not a valid setup. We have red, red. Back here, I would have had a valid setup. But we had H4, H1. I'm showing a little bit of how I trade, so let's not get into it too much. I'm just trying to explain the indicator. But you see how in blue, then we white, green, and then we went into red. I had all this time to look at the chart and decide, and what would I have decided? How this candle closes is going to depend on what I do, because here's 30 pips down. It just broke through my support and resist. Now, the cloud, we have weak momentum because it's kind of flat, but I have a possibility of getting into that trade. You see we'll get into my thought process and trading later, but you see how it helps? But look how long this was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 hours later, I'm finally into a valid setup. Patience is going to be key. Don't jump in ahead of time. This one, see how it hit H1 and dropped like a freaking rock? Plus, I think we had news this hour, too, so that example of what you want to get into. What is the difference between lots and micro lots? What are the minimum requirements, count size, and trade size to get started? Depends on your broker. Let's talk about, and right now, I will say I am starting to get upset with Trader's Way. You see how we were talking about the spread here? What we're seeing with Trader's Way is the spread will be 0.3, and it'll jump up to a 10 pip spread, and my stop loss is 10 pips. It's knocking me out of the trade. But that's not here or there. Let's go back to your question. The difference between lots and micro lots. Okay, a micro lot is 0.01. If you're going to get started, do demo. The next thing I'd say, go to an account that supports micro lots. You want an ECN broker. ECN means you're dealing directly with the market. They have what's called a dealing desk. That means that your trade goes to your broker, then your broker places the trade. You don't want to deal with a dealing desk. You want an ECN broker. So Trader's Way is an ECN broker. You can open an account with them for, I think, 10 or 20 bucks, but you want to make sure it's an ECN account, and you want to trade then micro lots. Once you decide to go live, make sure you demo however you're going to trade until you feel comfortable and consistent with it. Let's see. So when we have points where to go TP and no SL, we should find entry from lower. For example, 1H looking 15. Um, for that question, let's save it for next week when I'm getting into it. This week we want to keep it simple and short. I don't want this thing to turn into an hour. If you want to get more advanced concepts, hit me up on Skype, something like that. For me, I don't bump around time frames. I leave everything 1 hour. My Forex trade found once I simplified it, I got better at it. My binary options trading was convoluted over, and my Forex trading, hell, I even went through and I was trading, some of you are going to know what it is. I had HGI, Bob, his Holy Grail indicator, added on here to try and help me. I got fed up with it, and I just went back to my basic simple setup. I don't get as many pips as some people, but I'm doing it consistently now. It's all about getting consistent. You're going to see people there that pull in 300, 500 pips in a day, and I mean, I saw it and I wanted to try it, but for me, I just, because of my past, I'm consistently trading this way, and that's all that matters to me. It's not fancy. I'm not getting a shit ton of pips every day, but I'm making money, and that's all that matters for me. Sometimes simple is going to be better. Don't get too complicated with it. This was just the basic intro. Next week, some of the things I'll cover are how I actually place trades. Just as a hint, I use a script, and if I place a trade, I'll show you a little example, and then we'll talk about it next week. This trade, I scale into trades. So we're going to talk about that next week. This was because people kept beating me over the head for Forex, so I finally decided, since summer's coming, to bend down and help some people out with Forex. So next, yes, on Friday, I'm going to do a little bit more on Forex, more in depth. Do we have any other just basic questions over risk reward, spread, how to place a trade using the one click, how to close a trade? Is the X over here? I didn't say that. See the little X right here? That will just automatically close your trade if you need to. There's no minimum. You could blow your leverage determines your max trade size. As a 1 to 50, every $1 they'll let you do 50. I stick to 1% again because I had mental issues with Forex. I keep saying it, but it's true. I freaking had mental issues with Forex. There it is. I admit it. I stick to 1%. I am literally scared shitless to go higher than that. I've done 2%, 3% every now and then over the last 15 months. Those are stop losses and sell stops. If price drops down to it, it opens up another trade for me. We're going to talk about that next week. That's how I actually trade. I scale into trades. How do you set your trade amount? Okay, from the basic way that I showed today, your trade amount is up here. It's in lots. There is, if you go to babypips.com, and I'll put this link up here. No, okay, first let me cover. That's how you do your trade size. I'm going to put a link in the forum post on babypips.com where you put in your balance and the amount you're willing to risk, and it will tell you what trade size to use. So that'll cover that. Okay, one question at a time. So 1 hour time frame is the best for Forex. No. Whatever time frame you're comfortable with. I would say, since we're moving into summer, your minimum you want to stick to is a 1 hour or a 4 hour. Some of you might be able to do this on a 5 minute. I don't know how you trade. For me, trading itchy, my bare minimum's 1 hour. If I drop below 1 hour, I start getting unreliable results. What pips are you getting each day on average doing this system? It depends. Some days I'll get 30 pips, some days I'll get 150 pips. It depends on what the market's giving me. Tony, you should know. On a day when it's ranging, do you think I'm going to get anything out of this? I'm focusing on binary options. On a day when it's trending and I can't trade binary options, what do? I'm doing this. Those are the days where I'll see a nice amount of pips. On a day when it's rangings, what pair should we avoid? If you're just first, Tony, did that answer your question? Market conditions are going to tell you how many pips you get. If it's ranging, do binary options. If it's trending, Itchy's a great system to go with. Okay, next. What pair should we avoid? If you're starting off, stick with majors and minors. Do not go to exotics. Example of an exotic. See if I can find it. And you'll know by the spread. Look at the spreads I have on here. What are you going to see? 1.4, 1.7. If you're brand new, I'd say stick to 4 to 6 pip spreads. The lower, the better. Let me find an exotic and you will see right away. Here's an exotic. The spread is 84 pips. We see why we want to stay away from that. This spread on this one is jumping from 40 to 84 pips. Stay out of those. So stick to majors, then minors. If you're just starting off, I mean, you can see the shitload of you can see this shit ton of charts I have open, but since I'm on an hourly chart, I have time to review them. Is scalping something better done in a 5-minute chart, maybe using support, resist, and price action? Scalping can be done on any time frame. 1 minute, 5 minute, 30, 15, whatever. What you feel comfortable with and what works for your system. What I focus on is what I'm showing is what I've been doing for the last 15 months live. I am on a 1 hour or a 4 hour time frame. It really depends on the day. Typically, I try and stick to the 1 hour. Scalping, there's a lot of people who do intraday scalping. Uh, what I do, honestly, you could consider it scalping. But what I also do is I rarely leave a position open overnight. I never leave one open over the weekend. I try, and if news is coming, I try and close out all my positions. Or I tighten up my stop losses. So if price shoots in my direction, yay for that. Otherwise, I'll tighten up my stop loss. I never use a trailing stop during a stop loss. We'll get into that next week, what a trailing stop is. During news, I turn my EAs off, and I have hard stop losses set. Reason being is I have seen my trailing stops fail. A shit ton of money. Again, I'm derivative when I do it. So if I know news is coming, the first thing I do, auto trading goes off. I go to any pairs I have open, and I physically go in, and I set my stop loss here and here, and my take profit. Because news has dicked me over more than once with a trailing stop loss, where it just ignores it and then goes. Trying to think what else. That pretty much covers it. Next week we'll get a little, like I said, we can get a little more advanced. I still have to write up everything from this, put up indicators if y'all want them. You can play with them. Again, you don't need to use my setup, but if you do, hey, have fun with it. I use it on a 1 hour time frame. I was just trying to explain the basics of get to it, and I know I'm on the wrong chart. Any last minute questions? Anything? Delete all pending orders. We'll get into what I'm using over here next week, because again, this is a little bit of a more fancy way of trading. Because I'm using ladder trading, I guess you could call it, scaling in, whatever you want to call it. Any other questions? Anything else, guys? That should cover the basics for you to get involved. Again, review on the broker. Look for an ECN broker. It'll get rid of the dealing desk. I will post everything up, how to determine trade size and stuff like that. Other than that, guys, thanks for coming. What are commissions like? Depends on the broker. Make sure you read over whichever broker you pick and see what the commission fee is. An ECN account will have commissions but lower spreads. That's why, and plus it's not going through a dealing desk. So, like for me, I use Trader's Way. Once my account gets to about 100K, I'm probably going to switch over to a Wanda or another United States-based broker. It's when cash amounts are going to get to the point where I want to be 100% protected, but I'm still about 40K short of getting a 100 account. But I will also be able to deal with them on spreads then because I have a larger account and I can say, hey, I'll give you this much if you give me spreads. Any other questions? ECN account, read through, like Alex asked, read through what the commissions are. Make sure you understand them. If not, get on live chat and ask them. I will post up the baby pips link on how to determine trade size based off of percentage. And if you have any other questions, hit me up on Skype or hit me up on the Facebook page with questions after I post this. I'm going to post this all to forums too. So you can ask questions on the forums. But other than that, have a good weekend. Once I'm done posting this crap up, I'm just going to watch my charts and be done for the day. Hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we'll get a little bit more advanced into it. If you have questions, save them up for next week when we do this. It'll be Friday, same time. We'll start around 10 o'clock Eastern time to do it again. If you have charts set up, next week we'll talk about a little bit more advanced EA that does trailing stops, which basically means your stop loss will follow price, so it can help you lock in profits. We'll talk about how I trade, which is using scaling in. If you don't know what scaling in means, it means when I click to buy, it's going to open up several trades for me. I have the auto trader off, so it's not doing it. Scaling is opening up several small trades in the direction. I probably screwed it up because I didn't have auto trading on. And what else? Any other your more advanced questions. But by then you should. A lot of the questions y'all asked me, I said wait till next week. The yes, I'm recording it and uploading it in a bit. What was the thing with the stop loss? That's going to be the EA that we're going to cover next week. Right now, the EA is just so you can set a stop loss and a take profit. Next week, the EA we're going to go over will have a trailing stop loss. I want to ease people into this, basically. I don't want to overload them. If you come next week, come with your questions from playing all week. You're going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to play with whatever systems you do. Bring your questions then. A lot of this stuff is going to answer yourself once you do it, and from the links that I'm going to give you. Other than that, have a good one all. I am done.